thing I want to get into is an absolutely fascinating topic to me. And a lot of people out there are into championship titles, championship belts, as they call them. Although the Sheik would say, don't call it a belt. It's a championship. It's a title. Yep. Okay. And the history of championship belts in big-time wrestling in Detroit, the United States Championship and the Tag Team Championships.
Well, let me start with the singles championship belt. There was 4 different versions. Very first and foremost, when the Sheik beat Johnny Valentine for the title in 1965, there's the original belt, which, you know, we'll have pictures showing the fans here. And Sheik held that for a number of years, and that was the title belt. And then when Bobo Brazil finally beat the Sheik for the title, they took the belt and they added studs to it. They put these, you know, black studs all around the belt. So they just modified the original belt. Yeah. So Bobo wore that, and I think I have a photograph of Pampero Firpo in that, you know, the title belt.
Because he beat Bobo for the title back then.
Then a few years went by, and a good friend of mine, wrestler, who wrestled here very briefly, but his name was Nikita Malkovich, and he was a belt maker.
From Toronto.
Right. And he did the next version number 3 of the title belt. And it was, you know, sort of ovalish, and it had a eagle in the center, and it had, you know, side plates on it. And
it looked like the Carolinas, looked like Vince McMahon's in New York City, because he did them all.
Yeah, so many guys wore almost the same belt.
Yeah,
so if
and
you saw,
didn't know it back then.
Yeah, so when you'd see photographs in, you know, the magazines, you know, it's the same belt. Well, the Sheik held that belt, the Backlund held that belt, Superstar Billy Graham held, you know.
No, not that U.S. title, the U.S. title in the Carolinas.
Yeah, and then the final version, it's the last one that the Sheik used even after the promotion folded, and he, you know, traveled the country and, you know, did spot shows here and there, and, you know, went down to, you know, Tennessee and Georgia and, you know, Florida, but he wore the red leather belt with like the gold United States emblem in the center.
Yeah.
So that would have been the final, you know, belt that, you know, in big time wrestling.
Yeah, and the whereabouts, who knows?
No.
There are different stories out there, and I told you a version that I heard that I would have sworn to you was absolutely true, because the Sheik's son, Eddie Jr., told me face to face that they buried the Sheik with that belt. They put it into the casket with him before they closed the casket. But not true.
Not true. I had heard that a collector in Japan had it. And then you relayed to me that, you know, they put the belt, you know, in with the Sheik's body, you know, when they were going to bury him. But I was at the funeral. Here's how I can refute Eddie Jr.'s story. I was at the funeral home that day, and I was standing there when they closed that casket. When, you know, they closed the casket, locked it, we went to the church, did the ceremony there, went to the cemetery, you know, buried in the ground. So in between that time when the funeral home locked that, you know, casket, you know, it's never going to be open again.
Right.
And I know that nobody there shoved the championship belt in with the Sheik.
That's interesting.
So that's how I can refute that.
Yeah. And then Sabu has a bit of a different take on things, because the story he tells is that it was damaged either in Japan, or somebody in Japan was supposed to fix it and it got lost or whatever, and who knows? So it's a huge mystery.
Yeah, well, any of the big time wrestling belts, you know, don't know if they exist or whose hands that they're in, you know, what collector has them.
Yeah.
And the same thing for, you know, the tag team belts. You know, those were unique also.
Mm-hmm.
And I can probably relate to 4 different versions of those belts. First and foremost, I can remember the Hells Angels wearing square belts, which were owned by Dick the Bruiser.
Well, weren't they Paul's?
No. Well, they could have been.
I think he supplied the belts. Chris Colt, Paul Dupree.
Yeah.
I think they were his belts. They eventually ended up as Bruiser's tag team championship belts.
Right. And
those are the ones we used for Bruiser Bedlam.
Right. And I think my good friend in the Indianapolis area, Chris Parsons, owned those now.
He does, yeah. Right.
So those I remember were the first version.
Yeah.
The second version was the round ones. It was like a oval, round, belt, with,
like
the United States.
Stomper and Justice, right?
Right. Stomper and Justice wore those belts. And then years later, and because, they really didn't have tag team championship, belts for a while, or any championships. And then they resurrected the titles again, and it was almost a replica of the Sheik's third belt with the, made by Nikita Malkovich, with the eagle in the center and gold piece and plates on the side. So the Sheik's, United States Championship and the Tag Team Championships belts looked almost the same, or basically the same. And then the last version I remember is Al Costello had a red and black version that he supplied for the Kangaroos. And I think Justice and Stomper wore them maybe once. And then, it went back to the Kangaroos, and, even when I managed the Kangaroos, Al Costello and Mickey Doyle, those were the belts that Al Costello used, the Kangaroos used. So, and then the one trivia piece on that, on the tag team belts, I think, because I have
going with this too.
I have photograph proof that I believe that Ben Justice is the only wrestler to have worn all four versions of the heavyweight tag team championship.
And if it's not the Kangaroos, then it's got to be Ben, because with Rocky Johnson, with
Rocky
Stomper,
Johnson,
and then with Brooks.
Killer Brooks.
Yeah, wow. So many times things come to me as we sit here. Do you know there was another title in big time wrestling toward the end?
What's
that?
The
WWS title.
Worldwide Sports title?
The Worldwide Sports. Worldwide Sports was the company name for big time wrestling. The WWS title was worn by Captain Ed George.
No. I'm sure Captain Ed bought it, at some novelty store or something like that.
It was one of the old tag team belts.
Really?
Yeah, and it was one of the ones that they had retired, and who knows, again, where it was or where it is, but that's the belt that he wore when he was a champion for.
I want to see a picture of that.
Okay, we'll do it.
I don't have one, so you're going to have to come up with that.
Yep.
Okay, but on the original singles title, the United States Heavyweight Championship, let me, post this one for you.
Okay.
Try to tell me all the people that held the title.
Held the U.S. title?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. Let me borrow your pen there so I can mark these off.
You already stole one of my pens.
Oh, that's okay. I'll return it in some years. Okay. Start. Who wore the United States Heavyweight Championship belt?
Oh, are we going to count Johnny Valentine?
Yes, we will.
We're going to start with him.
Okay.
Sheik?
Yes.
Bobo?
Yes.
Firpo?
Yes, sir.
Igor?
Ding, ding.
Kent?
Bulldog Don Kent, yes.
Abdullah the Butcher?
Yes.
Tony Marino?
Yes.
Tex
He's on a roll. He's on a roll.
How many do I have yet to get?
You've got to get 1, 2, 3, 4 more.
Oh my God. Seriously?
Yep.
Who the hell else was there?
Here, let me give you a hint.
Yeah. Ox Baker.
Ox Baker.
Ox Baker, okay. All right. Did Stasiak hold it?
No. Never held it.
Oh my God. Tex never held it.
No.
Firpo. Bull Curry never held it. Igor we already talked about. Justice never had it. Stomper never had it. Kangaroos. Okay, I'm going to give up.
No, I can't let you give up. I'll give you a hint.
Yeah?
Channel 62. First time in... Gino Hernandez. Bing, bing.
Okay. And there's one more?
No, 2 more.
2 more. I'm never going to get this.
Yes, you will.
I will not.
Yes, because one of the guys who held it was known as the Israeli champion.
Oh, Mark Lewin.
Mark Lewin.
And the guy who won it from Mark Lewin was Terry Funk.
There you go. Ding, ding, he's got them all. Good job,
With a little help. But you had to write them down.
I did. I did my research.
Yes, you did.